My husband was secretly working for a hidden organization, an organization that targets rich women through marriage. And by the time I discovered the truth, I was already trapped inside it. But what terrified me most wasn't the organization. It was realizing my husband had actually fallen in love with me.
Anytime a marriage looks too perfect, just know something is missing somewhere. Because there is no perfect marriage, no perfect man, no perfect woman. Real love has flaws, arguments, moments that don't always make sense. But my marriage, it was too smooth, too calm, too perfect. And I didn't realize that perfection was the trap. I froze. I couldn't even breathe properly anymore. My hands were shaking as I stared at the screen. Client, Emma, active. The words kept repeating in my head. Client? Why was my name inside my husband's phone like some kind of project? Then the bathroom door opened. Daniel walked out casually, drying his hands with a towel. The moment his eyes landed on my phone in my hand, his face changed. Not fear, not panic, just fast. He rushed toward me immediately and grabbed the phone from my hand. Emma! That was the first time he called me by my name. I flinched. Why would you go through my phone like that? He asked sharply. That's my privacy. But honestly, I barely heard him. I just sat there on the bed, frozen, tears slowly falling down my cheeks. My chest felt tight, like something inside me had just cracked open. Daniel looked at me for a few seconds. Then suddenly, his voice softened again, completely calm, like always. Babe, he said quietly, sitting beside me. Why are you crying? I looked at him slowly, actually looked at him. And for the first time since I met him, he felt unfamiliar. What was that? I whispered. He frowned slightly. What are you talking about, love? I pointed at the phone still in his hand. That message, my voice broke. Is our marriage a scam? Daniel blinked quickly. What? Was any of this real? I asked, tears dropping faster now. Our love, was it even real? Baby, he said with shock. What was that, Daniel? I asked. For the first time, my voice sounded scared, not angry, scared. Daniel moved closer immediately. No, babe, he said softly. You're misunderstanding everything. I kept staring at him silently. It was a client, he explained quickly. A customer from work. I said nothing. Her name is Emma too, he continued. She wants to buy cars from the company. He forced out a small laugh. Baby, please, I think you are overthinking this. Still calm, still smooth. Too smooth. I'm not cheating on you, he added quickly. That was when I looked at him again, confused. I'm not talking about cheating, I said slowly. Daniel went quiet. My tears kept falling. Something is wrong, I whispered. I can feel it. The room suddenly felt heavy, too quiet. Daniel stared at me without saying anything for a moment. Then he reached for my hand gently. Babe, he said softly again, you are just stressed. But this time, his calm voice didn't comfort me anymore.
Daniel kept trying to turn everything into cheating, like that was the real issue. And honestly, for a moment, he almost convinced me. Because that's what people usually suspect first in marriage. Another woman, another relationship, cheating. But this felt different,
too strange, too organized, and deep down, I knew what I saw. That night, neither of us really slept. I could feel it. Even though Daniel kept pretending everything was fine, I noticed the small things. The way he kept turning on the bed, the way he stayed awake longer than usual, the way he kept checking if I was sleeping. And me, I just stared into the darkness, thinking, replaying everything in my head. Client, Emma, active. The words wouldn't leave me alone. The next morning, Daniel acted like nothing had happened, like the night before never existed. Same soft voice, same calm face, same perfect husband. "Morning, babe," he said, gently leaning down to kiss my forehead. I forced a small smile. "Morning." "You didn't sleep well," he said. "Neither did you," I thought to myself, but I said nothing. He adjusted his watch and picked up his car keys. "Long day at the automobile company today," he sighed softly. "You'll be okay?" I nodded slowly. "I'll be fine." Then he stepped closer and kissed my cheek again. "Don't stress yourself too much, love. I will never cheat on you, okay? I love you so much. Love." The words suddenly sounded different coming from him. I pretended everything was okay. And honestly, I think he did too. We left for our different offices that morning. But my mind wasn't at work. Not really. I kept hearing his voice, seeing that message, remembering how fast he grabbed the phone from me. Around noon, Amaka came to my office. The moment she entered, she narrowed her eyes at me immediately. "What happened?" I looked up quickly. "Nothing." "Emma?" I said I'm fine. She dropped her bag on the chair and folded her arms. "You're not fine." I tried to focus on my laptop. Amaka moved closer. "Talk to me." I shook my head lightly. "It's nothing serious." "Then why do you look like you cried all night? Did Mr. Calm upset you? Though I doubt it because he loves you too much." That question hit me harder than I expected. Because I actually did. I cried all night. Amaka sat beside me quietly. "Emma, what's going on?" she asked softly this time. I stayed silent for a few seconds. Then finally, I gave in. "Can I ask you something?" I said quietly. "Of course." "How do people see my marriage with Daniel?" she asked. Amaka frowned slightly. "What kind of question is that?" "Just answer me." She shrugged lightly. "Perfect." I laughed softly. "There," I said slowly. "That's the problem." Amaka looked confused. "What do you mean?" I leaned back in my chair. "It's too perfect." She stared at me. "Emma?" "No, listen," I interrupted. "That's not how marriage is supposed to be." Amaka blinked. "What are you talking about?" And that was when I told her everything. The message, the strange behavior, the way Daniel tried to explain it away. Everything. When I finished talking, Amaka was quiet for a moment. But strangely, she didn't look shocked. "If I'm being honest, I think you might be overreacting a little." I looked at her immediately. "Overreacting?" "Emma, your husband works in an automobile company," she explained calmly. "What if it really was a client?" I nodded instantly. "No, Amaka," I said firmly. "This is different." I could feel my heartbeat rising again. The room suddenly went quiet. And for the first time since all this started, I realized something even more terrifying. Nobody else could see what I was seeing.
That evening, I already knew Daniel was going to act like nothing was wrong again. And honestly, that was starting to scare me more than the message itself. Around 7 p.m., I heard the front door open. "Babe?" Daniel called softly from the living room. I didn't answer. A few seconds later, he walked into the bedroom, still dressed from work.
His tie loosened slightly, sleeves folded. Same calm face, same perfect husband. He saw me sitting quietly near the edge of the bed and paused. "You've been avoiding my calls," he said gently. I looked at him. No, I just didn't feel like talking. Daniel sighed softly and dropped his car keys on the table. Then he walked closer slowly. "My love." I looked away immediately. That hurt him a little. I could see it. Or maybe he wanted me to think it hurt him. "What do you want me to do?" he asked quietly. "Tell me." I stayed silent. "What do you want me to say to prove to you that our marriage is real?" His voice sounded calm, controlled, too controlled. "I love you, Emma." I laughed softly under my breath. "You keep saying that." "Because it's true," he said. I shook my head slowly. "You expect me to believe that after what I saw?" Daniel immediately sat beside me. "Babe, listen to yourself," he said softly. "You saw a client's name on my phone and suddenly our entire marriage is fake?" I didn't answer because honestly, when he said it like that, it almost sounded reasonable again. That was the problem with Daniel. He knew how to make confusion sound calm. He reached for my hand gently. "I have never asked you for money." I looked at him quietly. "I have never touched your business or get involved with it because I love and trust you. Can't you do same for me, baby?" Still calm. "I work every day." He paused. "I take care of you because I love you." His eyes stayed fixed on mine. "So, why are you doing this to us?" Us. The way he said that word almost broke me. But deep inside, something still felt wrong. Very wrong. What I didn't know then was that Daniel wasn't just trying to save our marriage that night. He was trying to save himself too. Because somewhere outside our home, people were already watching everything. The organization he works for. Quiet, patient, always observing. And Daniel knew one dangerous truth. If they found out I had started suspecting him, then both of us were in serious trouble. So he stayed calm, careful with every word, every expression, every reaction. Like a man trying desperately to not lose control of a situation already slipping from his hands. "Baby," he whispered softly again, "please trust me." I stared at him silently. And for the first time since we got married, I didn't know if the man sitting beside me was my husband or somebody pretending to be him. After that night, Daniel became even more loving. And honestly, that confused me more. Because this wasn't new behavior. Daniel had always been like that. Attentive, soft, present, loving. The kind of man many women pray for. And that was exactly why this whole thing was destroying my mind. Every morning, he still kissed my forehead before leaving for work. "Take care of yourself, love." Every afternoon, he checked on me constantly. "Have you eaten, babe? How's work going? Don't stress yourself too much." And every evening, he rushed back home earlier than usual, almost too early sometimes. Some days, he would come straight to my office to pick me up. I would look outside through the glass window and see him leaning calmly against his car waiting for me. Handsome, calm, perfect, like a husband inside a romantic movie. "Your husband is here to pick you up, madam," Toke teased one evening with a smile. I forced a small smile back, but inside me, things weren't peaceful anymore. Daniel opened the passenger door for me as usual when I got outside. "Long day?" he asked softly. "A little." He touched my hand gently. "You need rest." Then he drove us home quietly with one hand on the steering wheel and the other resting close to mine, like he was scared to let me drift too far away from him. Some weekends, he took me out. Drives, beach walks, quiet dinners, everything a loving husband should do. And the painful part, I enjoyed those moments. I really did. Because despite everything, I loved Daniel so much. Too much. Sometimes we sat together by the beach in silence while the wind blew softly around us. Daniel would pull me closer gently one evening. "You've been distant lately," he whispered. I looked away toward the water. "I've just been thinking." "About me?" he asked with a warm smile. I stayed quiet. Daniel sighed softly and rested his chin briefly against my hair. "I wish you could see how much I love you, Emma." And for a second, I almost believed him again. That was the hardest part. Not the fear, not the message, the confusion. Because the man I was scared of was also the same man I still wanted beside me every night. But slowly, I started noticing something else. Daniel wasn't just trying to make me happy. He was watching me, carefully, too carefully. If I stayed at work too long, he noticed immediately. If I sounded distracted, he asked questions. If I stepped outside to answer calls, his eyes followed me. Not aggressively, subtly, like a man trying to stay calm while hiding panic underneath. And then it hit me one night. Daniel was scared too. I could see it in his eyes sometimes when he thought I wasn't looking. That quiet fear. That tension behind the calm smile, like he was terrified of losing control of something important. Or worse, terrified of what would happen if I talked. But who would even believe me? That was the problem. What evidence did I have? Nothing had been stolen. My accounts were untouched. My money was still there. My business was still growing. Everything looked normal. So what exactly was I supposed to tell the authorities? That my husband loved me too perfectly? That a message on his phone made me scared? Nobody would believe that. Sometimes even I struggled to believe myself. And Daniel knew it. That was the dangerous part. He knew love was weakening my instincts. Because despite the fear growing inside me, a part of me still wanted him to be innocent. Still wanted his hugs to be real, his kisses to be real, his love to be real. And honestly, that confusion was slowly destroying me from the inside.
Daniel knew something had changed. Not because I said it, but because he could feel it. The way I looked at him, the way I answered slowly, the way I stopped smiling the same way. He was losing me, and I could see it in him too. Even though he still acted calm, something underneath him was shifting. Fear. Days passed like that. Same routine, same soft voice, same perfect husband. But now, even silence between us felt heavier, like something unspoken was sitting between every word. One evening, he asked me to go out. "Let's take a walk, baby," he said gently. I agreed. I didn't even know why. We drove to the beach. Quiet, golden sky, soft waves rolling in slowly. We walked side by side on the sand without speaking, just holding hands. Then Daniel slowed down. "Let's sit," he said calmly. We sat down. The sand was cool beneath us. The wind moved softly. His hand never left mine. For a long time, he said nothing, just stared at the sand. Then he picked up a small stick and started writing, slowly, carefully, like every word could cost him something. I didn't know what he was writing, but I was busy watching the waves, Something in his silence felt dangerous. Then he leaned closer, still holding my hand, and without warning, he held my waist and pulled me closer, and he kissed me. Soft, deep, different. Not like before. When he pulled back slowly, he didn't look at me immediately. Instead, he nodded toward the sand and signaled me to look. I lowered my eyes and froze. The first words were already there. Fresh, clear. Everything you are thinking is right. My breath caught. Daniel didn't react. He just held my hand tighter. Then he wrote again. I was assigned. My chest tightened instantly. The ocean suddenly felt louder. He continued. They are watching us. My fingers went cold. Then another line, smaller, careful. Don't speak. I looked at him sharply, and he looked at me too and smiled warmly. He kept writing, his hand slightly shaking now. They hear everything. Silence fell again. Only waves. Then he paused, longer this time, like he was fighting himself. And then he wrote something that made my heart stop completely. But trust me, I will make sure you are not harmed. My eyes widened slightly. He didn't stop there. His hand moved again, slower now, softer words. Because I'm in love with you. I looked at him immediately. This time, he finally met my eyes, and for a second, I believed him again. Totally. His grip on my hand tightened slightly, not forceful, but desperate. Like a man trying to hold on to something he was already losing. And in that moment, I didn't know what scared me more, the system he was talking about, or the fact that part of me still wanted to believe him. Because if Daniel was telling the truth, then we were both in danger. But if he wasn't, then I had just stepped into something far worse than betrayal.